not just bodybuilding. This is weight training technique. Spending time under tension, hitting the target muscle, focusing on the stretch, increasing the reps before the weight, demonstrating control, checking if you feel sore the next day. I'm talking from experience. I've been somebody who lifted in stupid ways before, and there were people there to give me advice on it. I didn't really take it, and when I didn't take it, it only was a matter of time before I found an injury or a plateau, or didn't have the physique that I was going for. I was like, well, why do I look so flat, and why am I so strong? Yet why doesn't that represent the way I look? Like, I'm strong, but I don't look that strong. Hey everybody, I'm going to be talking about today a few ways to change your exercise programming in the moment in order to reduce your risk of injury or to improve and get over a plateau in the gym. So the reason I'm bringing this up is because this is actually a very one-size-fits-all type of informative style of video where I'm just going to give you these basic fundamental tips that people skip over, and they jump to conclusions, to reasons why they may not be improving in terms of muscle growth in the gym, you know. So these are things I like to focus on. First of all, I would suggest focusing mainly on controlling the weight and focusing on the stretch. Now, there's a few caveats to focusing on the stretch that I want to include, because I don't see them included in a lot of people's talks about focusing on the stretch, which I do feel are important. Just before we get to those caveats, focus on the stretch. The reason being is that you're trying to stimulate the muscle, and if you can feel the muscle working and it's under a lot of load and it's under that tension and you spend longer underneath it, then your chances are you are actually hitting the target muscle of the exercise. So when you're doing your exercise, first of all, you want to make sure that you know what exercise is for what. So, you know, if you're doing a hamstring curl, you're targeting the hamstring, right? And it's the same for any other exercise. You want to know what the target muscle is so that you can focus on if you're hitting that muscle first of all, okay? And focusing on the stretch. The stretch would be the eccentric portion of the contraction. So let's say the bicep curl, say I'm contracting, okay? The stretch is going to actually be the way down, muscles lengthening down, okay? It's still got tension. I haven't dropped my arm yet. I've still got the weight in my hand. I can feel lots and lots of tension on the bicep, and then I curl again, okay? That's gonna be focusing on the stretch. I'm not just restarting the rep once I get to here, and then, look, another rep, and then another one. Instead, I'm gonna go all the way down, and then all the way back up, okay? That would be an example of focusing on the stretch. And the caveat that I was going to add to this is you wanna be careful when you're focusing on the stretch, right? So if you are kind of just starting to implement focusing on the stretch into your workouts, one piece of advice I'd give to you is to reduce the weight and not to overdo the stretch, okay? Because you're going to start to feel the stretch when you start to focus on it more. And the one thing you're going to try your best not to do now when you're doing this is really go as far down as you can with whatever exercise to really milk the stretch. Yes, it gives you a lot of benefits to reaping the most out of the juice out of the squeeze as you can with the exercise, but if you're not used to putting that muscle under a great amount of load at a stretched position, you run the risk of straining the muscle or a joint or something like that. So to avoid overdoing that stretch, just don't go too far. You're focusing on the stretch obviously, but maybe just don't go too far yet. Maybe work up to that, maybe on week 2 and week 3 of doing this new focus, then you start to really deepen the stretch that you're working on. And then after that, third of all would be just making sure you've definitely reduced the weight before you start doing this, because you're gonna run up the risk of injury by quite a margin if you are doing your same squats, but this time you're spending 2-3 seconds on the way down instead of just one, and you're pausing at the bottom and then going all the way up, versus just bouncing down and up without any focus on the stretch with that weight. There's going to be a big stark difference between the two. You're going to realize that actually it's way harder to use that same weight to control it down and back up in a matter of like, you know, seconds versus just like a 1 second down up situation. You're going to feel the muscle work better, yeah, but you're also going to, if you're going to not change the weight and focus on just trying to do the stretch still and say, you know, I'm big, I'm strong, I can do this, you're going to hurt yourself one day or another. It may not happen the first week, but you know, it's riskier, and you could still get a great stimulus by reducing the weight. Another thing also, if you know you're stuck in the gym, right? This is what we're focusing on here. You can't grow. You're not gaining any new muscle, and if you're not gaining any new muscle, you might not be gaining any more strength, or at least in the as fast as you would like to. Maybe you're gaining muscle, but really slowly. Another thing to do, okay, is to put in focus after focusing on the stretch and everything like that, increasing the reps before you increase the weight of what it is that you're doing in the exercise. I'm going to say this again: increase the weight, increase the reps before you increase the weight. Okay, so let's say you're doing 8 repetitions of the squat at 60 kilos, or you know, more realistically, some of you guys out there might be squatting 100 or something like that, and you're doing 8 repetitions of that, and you go, yeah, I've bossed this 8 repetitions of the squat at 60 kilos, and I think I could go up. It just feels easy now. I'm going to put 10 kilos more on it and do it again. Sure, you can train like that, but we're not actually getting the most out of the weight here. You've done 8 repetitions. You can still grow and get stronger by going up in the number of repetitions that you're doing. You could do 10 repetitions next week. You could aim to get to 12, 15. Okay, you could go all the way up there. Some people go even higher. You don't need to necessarily with the squats. Squats may be a bad example of going past 15 reps. Okay, but let's say 15 reps for now is, you know, the top end to keep things simple of the squat, right? You've got all that. You've got, what is that? 7 more reps in your rep range to work on before you increase the weight next. Okay, so yeah, you can still grow, and I'd focus on doing the reps first and then up the weight. Then you're really confident with that weight. You've done 80 kilos from 8 reps all the way up to 15 over a period of 4 weeks, and then you've increased the weight. So it's a bit heavier, and you might be back down to 8 reps again, and you're going to try and get comfortable and confident with that weight by going all the way back up to 15 again, and then bam, back to, you know, rinse and repeat the process, okay? So yeah, if you're feeling stuck, then you should do that. And then lastly, do you feel sore the next day? So this is a multifaceted question where you could be, there's a lot of answers basically. So to keep it simple, if you do feel sore the next day, great, you've done it, okay? You have provided stimulus to the target muscles. That is given that you feel sore in the muscles that you were trying to get bigger and stronger, right? So for the next day, you feel all sore in your low back and, you know, in your forearms when you were training to do squats and, I don't know, pull-ups or something, and you don't feel sore in your back or in your glutes and your quads, then you've kind of failed to provide the right stimulus to that muscle group that you're trying to target, right? So what you're going to want to do is change up your training and try to focus on getting the target muscles, right? So if you're trying to train your quads and your glutes and your back in the same day, I don't know, whatever it is, this is just for sake of example, then, and the next day you feel forearms and low back are tired, then you're going to need to change up what maybe the form, the technique of the exercises that you're doing. You may need to change up the exercise themselves. Maybe they don't work for you, or maybe you just haven't quite figured those out yet. Maybe it's best to switch to something you do know, that you know works the muscle group, and do it like that. Finally, right, if you don't feel sore the next day, it could be one on 2 ends of the spectrum. You could be doing too few sets on your exercise, or you could be doing too many. And the only reason that you could be doing too many is that if you do, say, chest 4 times a week in the gym and you don't feel your chest is sore the next day, any time during that week that you've been training chest, it barely even feels like you've done anything to your chest, then it's time to reduce the sets and probably reduce the overall training volume, okay? So take down the number of sets you're doing, maybe take a day off. So instead of doing 3, do 2 times, instead of doing 4, which is way too many, do 2 days where you're focusing on your chest to get bigger, and see how you respond to that. And then again, if you've taken down the number of days, maybe take down the number of sets and really take it back down again, really rewind, go right back. Okay, it might feel like you're going a step in the wrong direction, but you actually are going a step in the right direction, because what you have been doing is overtraining, right? So what you want to do is go back down to minimal training, minimal effective dose that you can apply to your training to get the results you're looking for, right? So take it way back. Okay, you're not feeling a pump anymore, you're not feeling sore anymore. Go back down to 3 sets on the chest on one day and 3 sets on the chest the next, or something like that, and see how you feel. Does it feel a bit more like you actually feel the muscle the next day? Maybe not in the first week, maybe the second. Okay, your body needs time to adapt again back to, you know, baseline. It's been way up here. You've gone way too high on the amount of volume you've been training. You need to bring it back down, let your body rest and recover a little bit. Okay, and then when you've worked it back down to a minimal amount, build it back up slowly. And then when you start getting into those higher training volumes and you feel that pump and the soreness the next day not kicking in, that's when you're going to start bringing it back down, or change up the volume, or change up the stimulus. You're going to change it then. Okay, but that's how you know when to change it. Okay, but yeah, that's really it, guys. I hope that this information is useful to you, because basically, again, if you're trying to grow and you're trying to get stronger and you're not focusing on these main principles of bodybuilding, then and form and technique, it's not just bodybuilding. This is weight training technique. You know, spending time under tension, hitting the target muscle, focusing on the stretch. You know, it depends. Increasing the reps before the weight can be applied to strength and to bodybuilding and to whatever else you want to apply it to as a good measure before you go up in weight. Demonstrating control and checking if you feel sore the next day is another great one. So all of those are great things to check in your training program before you start jumping to conclusions. You know, I've hit my limit naturally. You probably haven't. You've probably just overdone something, and you've probably missed a few of the basic principles, and you haven't done everything you could yet, which is great. That's good news. We're not, you know, where is the limit on being natural? You know, especially if you've been training for a few years, you're not there yet. Neither am I. And we're going to keep going, we're going to keep riding this out, you know, trying to lift naturally, always, you know, always actually, not as long as you can, always lifting naturally, okay? In my opinion, I don't see any other way. I don't see any other way that's healthy. If you want to be at your best, you've got to focus on all these basic fundamentals in lifting before you jump to any conclusions. And, you know, just maybe ask somebody. You know, that's why PTs exist, that's why I'm here. That's why, you know, don't just go asking the biggest guy in the gym. He doesn't know. He may not know. He might know, but he may not. Like, you know, there's a number of reasons why the biggest guy in the gym is the biggest guy in the gym. Okay, and it's not always for the right reasons. Okay, so ask somebody who you think would be giving the correct advice on this matter. You know, don't ask your family members who don't train. Don't ask, don't ask the biggest guy. You know, look to somebody that you would think it might know this sort of thing. You know, somebody who does exercise for a living, like me. I can't think of any other examples. I'm not trying to just say it's me. I'm trying to point out that there's more avenues to go down, and don't jump to conclusions in your training. You definitely haven't exhausted all your resources at all. Okay, there's a number of other things we haven't even mentioned in this video for why you're stuck in that plateau and not able to hit your goal that you've had in mind just yet. Okay, so stay motivated and committed to the process, and trust the process. Okay, and trust people who are there to help you as well, because it will help you in the long run, not hurt you. I'm talking from experience. I've been somebody who lifted in stupid ways before, and there were people there to give me advice on it. I didn't really take it, and when I didn't take it, it only was a matter of time before I found an injury or a plateau, or didn't have the physique that I was going for. I was like, well, why do I look so flat, and why am I so strong? Yet why doesn't that represent the way I look? Like, I'm strong, but I don't look that strong. My shoulders don't fit in shirts the way I want them to. My quads aren't popping the way I want them to, even though I'm squatting 130 kilos, blah, 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 all that sort of crap. The questions I'd ask myself and just be like, wow, I have no idea what to do anymore. When I never learned the fundamentals or asked anybody. So if you've taken the time to watch this video, then hopefully you understand where I'm coming from. I'm not trying to big myself up, and also I'm not trying to present myself as somebody who's not been in the situation you've been in. The only reason I know this so well is because I've done it myself. So, just try to take my perspective here and take it with a pinch of salt. Not everything I'm going to be saying is going to be working for you either. I think, everything with fitness advice could be taken with a pinch of salt. Some things may work for you, others may not. And it's up to you to try to figure out how to approach it and in the best way possible, really. So, yeah, thank you. And I hope that you enjoyed and found it actually useful, and that you know what to do next when you go to the gym after watching this video. Like, you think, right, I've got an action plan that I'm going to take, maybe make a note of it and see if it's something you can implement into your next training session. Okay, brilliant. All right, thank you. And I will maybe make a video soon. All right, take it easy, guys.